Welcome, Wapping Crew, new listeners, friends, fiends, family, and phantoms. Anyone listening out there, be on the Omniverse tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in Califia, Colorado. It is Sunday, March 26th, Monday, March 27th, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Hope you guys have had an awesome weekend so far. Unfortunately, spring break is almost over. Tomorrow the kids have to go back to school. Like for me, I really don't mind the kids being at home, and I'd rather them be at home than have to get up early and send them off to school, but there's a lot of parents that are just itching to send their kids back to school. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. I'm so glad you can join us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. If you're listening live right now, you may be listening to us on KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. You can also find us live at this very moment on eTalk Radio, which you can find on eTalk.tv/radio, as well as YouTube, Facebook, and I believe Twitch, and Spreaker, of course. If you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, make sure you tune into us under We Are Paradox Media at Spreaker, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Facebook, CastBox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, Podvine, as well as YouTube. If you don't mind, mosey on over there. We're off ground again. Who knows? We have a show coming up pretty soon with a particular person, and I'm kind of scared. I told him, let's not say the C word, because COVID, these days gets you blocked immediately. I already have a strike, maybe two. If I get one more, then the channel's done, and I'll have to start all over again. But yeah, make sure you go over there, like any video that you've listened to or watched, and please leave us any comments, whether good, bad, ugly, we don't care. We just want to hear from you. Also, let us know any future guests that you'd like us to have on the show. April is pretty naked right now. We have January 8th coming up on the 2nd. On Saturday the 1st, I believe we're going to do story time. I know how much you guys like that. Anyways, tonight on our show, we have Mr. Troy Bacon. And I was just thinking about this earlier. I'm like, Troy Bacon, that's Kevin Bacon's son. Just kidding. There's no relation. But welcome, Troy. I'm so glad to have you. How you doing?
I am doing great. Biologically, I feel like I'm getting a cold, but that will pass, and that should be a good deal. Energetically and mentally, I'm feeling really great. I've received a couple of free healings today. Well, actually, paid for one free healing. One was free light language healing and transmit that really helped me remember more of the best way for me to be in the world and more of who I or related to them.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
I'll go get my earbuds and make sure that
Okay, yeah, that could be it. Once you picked up the phone, it was a lot clearer, but yeah, maybe the earbuds will help. Maybe the feedback or something's happening. I don't know, but I just had to let you know.
Yeah.
I was hearing like some sort of glitch or something.
Yeah, give me a minute. So I received a light language transmission and healing, and there's an adapter I need to get for my earbuds. Then I got a card reading, psychic card reading, and that was very interesting. The cards themselves were spot on, as they usually are around me, about what is going on and what I have to work on. And yeah, it's quite uncanny. But yeah, that led to me realizing more of some ancestral as well as subconscious healing that I'll need to be doing soon, and what that is and how to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting last night, and it was Johnny Benani. I'm like, that can't be your real name, but it is. It's pretty epic. I'm like, your parents did a good job on that one. But she had an idea last night. She's like, do you guys draw cards? Like, let's ask one question and let's all draw cards and see how close we get together as far as patterns. And it was just on point. It was pretty epic. Do you do cards yourself or no?
I do, yeah. For a long time I've been doing oracle cards just by myself. But recently I started going to fairs and offering card readings professionally because I have been working with them for 10 years, so I have quite a bit of experience. I really just use oracle cards and tarot cards as a tool to get some energy going, to get messages going about what the person is dealing with, about their question and whatever the reading is for. And then card by card I give my interpretations and intuitive and psychic senses of what each card is saying and how it's coming together, and give more of my wisdom and advice for the reading. And what I found about oracle cards and tarot cards is, of course, they are just one metaphysical and mystical spiritual tool, but they really almost seem to have a life of their own, or they're not really alive themselves, but it's like some sort of force
or energy,
sure
yeah.
What it is. Yeah, some sort of force or spirits around us have a very uncanny way of working through them and giving exactly the right cards at exactly the right times. And it can be quite shocking at how on point they can be. So
it really is. This particular deck that I started using when I was a teenager, and I saw them and I'm like, I just have to have these. And I've heard in the past, like, you shouldn't buy your own cards, like, they should be gifted to you. So I begged my boyfriend at the time, I'm like, will you please buy these for me? But this is the deck that I use, and I really love it. Like, the artwork and everything is beautiful. The Navigator Tarot of the Mystic Sea. And I had the original deck forever. There was a point where I got in a fight with my brother, and I just threw them at him. I don't know why, but I don't know. I was trying to protect myself, and it hit him right in the forehead, and then it went in a circle, and he just started picking them up and ripping them. And I put them back together with some electrical tape, so that wasn't too good as far as shuffling and stuff. But my little brother Aaron bought these for me, and then my best friend Mia, she bought me a book that goes along with it, which I haven't really used yet, but I want to check that out to dive more into it. Yeah, I really connect with these. Like you're talking about oracle cards, like I've been gifted one that was like an Isis one that I gave to my daughter Nova, and then there was one that was like an owl or something that my friend gave to me. I have no idea where that went. It kind of just like disappeared. I think it knew like I didn't connect with it, so it just moved along its own path. But like you said, it does. It has its own energy, and it's pretty intriguing.
yeah, whatever that is, if it's whatever that is, it seems to kind of read our subconscious and stuff that we're not even speaking about to other people. And I think, regardless of what we want to call it or what it is, that's giving these messages through the cards for us, I think it's one example, kind of evidence too, that we're quantumly entangled really far more than most of us think about or believe. And it's just one example of how, especially when we're asking a question or the universe can speak to us, sometimes with messages even without us asking for it at first, but giving us the messages we need. And so I think that's one way that we really are quantumly entangled with the whole
omniverse. I like to use that, yeah. I don't even know if omniverse really exists, but I think it does.
Yeah. The way I think of reality is there's this physical, material reality that really at its subatomic level is pure energy itself, is condensed. And then we see usually this rainbow, we see and hear this rainbow spectrum of frequencies with our bodies that humans have. Some animals can see more than that, and hear more than that, but really the spectrum of consciousness and frequencies and colors that are all around us is far below and far above the rainbow spectrum. And so it's like, we're basically, I think we're surrounded by oceans, probably, of different dimensions all around us that we don't even see. Some people do sense beings and spirits in those dimensions and connect with them. Some people call them fairies, some literally ETs do just live in those dimensions, which is why they want us to be more careful with them. And yeah, angels and all kinds of spirits around us, but yeah, we're really all quantumly connected. It's not us just floating around in this world, it's us kind of all together in this world.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how, like, I don't know, I feel connected to you, I feel like I've always known you, and it's like, you know, being reincarnated and everything, like, things work in circles, and I think there's a lot of us in this time or era where we have been family or whatever in the past, but we've found each other in some certain way, and we're kind of working together to get through what the hell is happening right now. Like, I'm kind of afraid of the state of the world these days. But as far as the tarot cards go, like, a funny example, I took my deck with me when I went to boot camp and combat training, etc. And my first daughter's dad, I call him her donor, because he was never really in the picture for her. But I did a reading, and I was like, this is just an example, and this is how it works. It said everything that was going to happen. And I'm like, just disregard that. Like, this is just an example, but I still remember it to this day. And it kind of freaked me out. But that to me was pretty intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you who haven't had or received or given card readings with oracle cards and tarot cards, they really are sometimes shocking. I've gotten used to it to the point where I really just think of it more as humorous with how they speak to us. And sometimes you ask a question about a larger issue, and it really does give a great perspective, especially with a bunch of cards pulled, kind of a longer story that it's speaking about, and sometimes you see that the messages from the cards last in your life, sometimes for months or years, and sometimes they're speaking about something very particular of that day or a short period of time that you're going through, but yeah, they can really speak to anything too.
Yeah, it was pretty epic, like that one reading that I told you about, like, told me everything that was going to happen, and it did, and that's why I think it still sticks with me, because it was so profound.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes cards can give advice when you need it. Sometimes they more like just give insight. Usually, though, oracle cards and tarot cards are not psychic predictions, and unfortunately many people think that they are and consider them to be so.
Yeah, it's generally like a guide, like, this could happen, but you can change, you know, you can do things differently to where it doesn't work out that way. Oops, we lost you. Where'd you go? Can you hear me? Oh, there you are. Yeah, we lost you for a minute. And I can't see you anymore.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you might just turn the camera. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There I am. What was I saying? Yeah, some card readers are psychic and can give their psychic perspective. But even then, some psychic predictions or readings might actually be very spot on. Sometimes I believe in destiny, sometimes not, but it does seem like a lot of my life has been somewhat destined for things to happen. But there's also room for free will, no matter what, I believe. But yeah, card readings generally give more like, sometimes they can be very specific with their imagery and messages, but usually not so specific about what to do or how to proceed, but it just gives you insights to kind of meditate on and think about and just become more clear about the situation, and then you can make your own decisions. I recommend educated decisions too about where to go and what to do.
Well, and plus, like, you know, you can do your card reading, and like we were saying, like, these cards have certain energies and such, but always listen to your gut. So that's another tool that you need to use, like your gut, your intuition, whatever you feel closely to link it to. Those things work together pretty nicely.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry, I keep
Yeah.
interrupting. I keep kind of throwing you off, I think.
That's okay. People do have their own senses, that I recommend everyone trust their gut and what they really feel for themselves. Just had an interesting realization about something that could be going on in my life, but think about that later.
Yeah, feel free to share, for sure. You were talking about, you had some different, like, light things happening earlier, and I wanted to hear more about that for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be the light language transmission channeling that I received. And so that's interesting. For those of you who don't know what light language is, you kind of have to get attuned to it normally and get in the practice of it, but light language is channeling, usually vocal, of just light and energy coming through. I've heard some practitioners say that after a long time of doing light language, usually it just sounds like kind of garbled sounds. Sometimes it's very, kind of gentle and harmonious, but sometimes it does just sound like all kinds of garbled vocal sounds that aren't really a coherent language. But then some people do, I've heard, experience consistency in the sounds that come through, as if there's a particular language that's coming through, and maybe there is. Maybe sometimes people are channeling an ET race or being, or just some beings in another dimension that aren't even ET, but you never know. But it's of the light, it's all good, and it's not. The point of it is not to be a vocal language, though.
It's more of an energy,
like
right?
Earthly languages. Yeah, it is an energy language, and so for the channeler and the receiver, the point is just to listen to the energy that comes through, feel it, and not use your intellectual mind to interpret it, but use your heart and senses, like you were saying, your gut senses. That's part of it. So as soon as this lady was I can see some things in my mind, but it's really hard to describe what they are.
Is it kind of like a dream? Kind of like an astral thing, or other dimensional?
No,
or?
I wouldn't call it astral. I wouldn't call it even dreaming. It's just like impressions in my mind, but because it's in another, like, much higher dimension, it's not corporeal like we would even see it. So I don't know how to describe it. It's one of those things that even angels, if we were to see their true form, they might seem quite scary and freaky to humans, but they appear to us normally as humanoid figures that seem nice, so we can most relate to them. However, their energies are nice, and yeah, it's kind of like that. And so yeah, this light language transmission, I think it was about 5 or 10 minutes. Felt like longer, but the energy that came through helped clear out some blockages and patterns in me, especially old patterns I've developed in this life about trying to create outcomes in my life and trying to create certain manifestations, especially around success of things. But I've realized that that is actually what has been blocking me and stopping me from the success I've been trying to create. What I've actually learned through experience works, at least for me, is to practice gratitude, state your intentions, visualize your intentions too, and be in that outcome for a moment and see what that's like. Then surrender that and let it go. Just enter into a state of the now and not thinking about things outside of you, not thinking about bills or there's enough money in your bank account or
even like past events. It's so hard.
Well, that's the thing. You just have to learn this, and I may be able to help people with that through hypnotherapy, and I certainly can. I've helped many people improve their lives and learn what they need to in life. Hypnotherapy. But yeah, it's this lesson that I've been learning more powerfully recently of really being present, even happy and joyful with the actual present.
Yes, and I like that word because, this gift of life is a present. Like, not everybody gets that gift. And the present is a present. Yeah. Like, it is a gift.
Yeah, and so by being present in gratitude and joy and enjoying the moment, then you step out of the way of the manifestation and you step out of the way of the flow of the universe that comes through you and around you. And then by surrendering and trusting the universe and your guides and angels and spirits around you, then that gives them the freedom to actually bring together the opportunities and circumstances and abundance and stuff that you were casting energy and intention for, but sometimes it comes through in a different way than you anticipate, because what it comes down to is we are not the creators of our reality. Sometimes we can be influencers.
I think we're the directors. Reality, like a movie. We're directors. Oh no.
Sometimes, Tessa, we are powerful beings, especially as awakened, those who are awakened souls, and have awakened some of our energy. Some people can do this quite naturally, but I, to some degree, believe that we also need to follow laws of nature, which are kind of like, we live in these evolved animalistic bodies. They're quite powerful and capable of many things. But at the same time, animals still use these principles in manifesting and living, and even children do when they're really young and are conditioned by school and what their indoctrinated parents and society teaches them. And it is this principle of being truly present with yourself and in the moment and with what's around you. And so, yeah, that's the really important key and lesson that I've learned, is truly beingness with openness. I have observed many children overall just not living this way because they've been taught to be demanding, they've been taught to be more of a masculine mindset and mathematical mindset of isolating things and isolating particles and seeing that we're all separate, but really we're all connected. And this comes back to the connectedness reality that I was speaking to earlier. Yeah, the circle of life and this web of life, as I think of it.
It's amazing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Once you realize it, it's just like mind-blowing.
Yeah, our thoughts are powerful. That's what my alien friends have been teaching me recently, is that our thoughts truly are powerful. I went through some years of my life believing that thoughts by themselves aren't actually very powerful, but then my alien friends have been reminding me and helping me realize recently that they are, and I'll get into more about that.
Well, and I have to add to that. I've been in and out of church, and I'm not really a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. And sometimes, to me, church is kind of like medicine, just like music and other things. But I knew this guy. I met this guy, and his name was Brother Rankin, and he really used to preach about that a lot. Thoughts are powerful. Your mind is a powerful thing. So be aware of your thoughts, and make sure you try to control that. And sometimes your mind does get away with you, and your thoughts, run away. And it's very important to control those, because they can manifest, whether or not you want them to or not. Like it's a pretty interesting prospect. But I actually had an experience with a car accident. So we're driving up Piaja River Road, and I'm thinking, like, this place is so beautiful, and if I died in a place, it would be someplace like this. I should not have thought that, but I did, and I almost did die. It was pretty epic. On the way back, we're driving, and I'm in my, it was a Toyota Tercel 4-wheel drive, and we're going around these curves, and all of a sudden we hit some corduroy, and I fishtailed this way and then back this way, and then I straightened it out, and I swear to God, like, something out there, I feel like it was spiritual or whatever, grabbed my wheel and yanked it. And luckily when I fishtailed, I missed this 500-foot drop-off, but when this thing yanked it over, it was a 50-foot, and as soon as I saw where I was going, I closed my eyes, because otherwise I was watching, because I needed to see what was going to happen. And luckily we hit, and then we rolled, and some trees caught us, and we would have gone off an embankment that was like over 1,000 feet. That would have been really bad. And some people have been found up there too by hunters and such, because they went off and nobody ever found them until some hunters found them like months later. But we almost died, and it's just like, okay, I'm not gonna think anything like that anymore. And Brother Rankin was right. The mind is a powerful thing. You need to control your thoughts. So, like, even though you think this is a beautiful place, don't think things like that, because it basically almost happened to me. I don't know, it was pretty strange. And even the next day when we went up there to go gather things, like I had my 357 lever action, my Winchester in there, which I didn't realize it at the time, but it flew forward, and then it got smashed between the roof and my seat, and it had actually hit me in the back of the head, and that's how I received my concussion. I didn't hit the steering wheel or anything, but the gun hit me in the back of my head. Luckily it wasn't loaded, because who knows what could happen with that. But yeah, I don't know. When we were driving up there, I was expecting we're going to go to the car, and then are our bodies still going to be in here, and is this like a spiritual experience I'm having? It kind of freaked me out until we got there, and luckily our bodies weren't in there, and this was not our spirits coming back to find our bodies, but I don't know, it's pretty intriguing, and it's true, so thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't believe us that our thoughts are powerful, just pay attention to when you think of somebody and then they call, or even when you learn something or you're thinking about something you learned, and then you maybe go out with a friend or somewhere and they say exactly what you were thinking of, or they message you maybe an article about something that is exactly the same idea and topic you were thinking of, and that is just, I could go on and on.
I do that a lot with my husband. Like, he'll be thinking something, and I'll say it, and he's like, "Get out of my head." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to." That's part of my real estate. He's like, "Get out of my head." It's not like I intentionally do it, but I pick up on those waves or those thoughts or whatnot.
Yeah, thoughts are powerful, and this is one way that my great friends helped me remember that my thoughts are powerful.
And I know I've asked you this before. Are the grays that you're talking about the little ones or the tall ones?
I kind of describe them as medium.
Okay.
Like maybe around 4 feet tall.
So they're small.
Yeah, like around 4-ish feet tall. But they're kind of like lighter skinned and very positive, benevolent, highly psychically evolved grays. Anyway, I was in the shower one night actually listening to a video by a lady named Crystal Kelly. I think I helped activate her through a therapy session, or helped her receive an activation. And so she's an activator anyway, by nature, kind of a psychic and spiritual activator when she's around people and they receive the activations they need. I was listening to her talking with Vincent Zunza and some other people from Sufon, interviewing him about, what was it? I think it's the Chehalis Film Festival, or a UFO Film Festival that's happening in Washington soon. And so she made a video about that, and I forget what they were talking about all, but a lot about aliens too. And so just during that conversation and deep in thought in the shower, I ended up seeing a vision of celestial lights, and that's the best way I can describe them. Perhaps other experiencers who've been on ships similar to the ones I've been on, and seen these otherworldly celestial lights, both as part of the ship and within it. You'll understand, but I just saw multicolored celestial lights, and I think that was also a transmission or reminder message from at least one of my grays about how my thoughts are powerful. And one thing that led to is also a memory of, or remembering better. I'm still deciphering some of this and still trying to get more clarity on it, but it's coming to me. The different procedures and especially tests and games and technologies that exposed me to through childhood on this, what I call the sphere ship, which is a living ship by itself. I feel like it's semi-alive. Anyway, other contactees have described a similar thing, but as children they would have us telekinetically move objects on their ship, and both in play, and I think they were measuring us and testing us that way and their abilities, and that's why I often have, or sometimes have, very vivid dreams that I swear when I'm in the dream, I think it's physical, tangible, waking reality.
Mm-hmm.
But then I start
because it feels so real, right?
And just, yeah, I fly.
Yeah, I can jump, and then the more you jump, the higher you can get.
Well, that's not the way it happens for me.
That's how I progressed. Like, I used to run and jump, and then finally I could fly.
Okay, but Tess, I'm trying to get to this point. But I think this is from my telekinesis and levitation experiences on the ships. I have these dreams, and it feels like I'm telekinetically pushing myself, holding myself in the air. And I can go up and down sometimes. It's quite an interesting experience because then in the dream, sometimes I have this fear of falling or fear of how to land. But I can still keep myself up, and I never do land in the dreams. But I think that ability I've literally used in this biological body when I was on the ships, and they helped awaken that in me. And so that's one way that thoughts are powerful, because a lot of it is just the mind that I'm using, or my thoughts and mind, but a lot of it feels very subconscious too, kind of both, probably. Because not so much the intellectual mind that is doing that, the telekinesis of moving objects or levitating myself. It's more like, it just feels like an automatic thing that I'm doing, that I barely need to think about, that's happening through my energy.
So as a kid, like, did you experience that? Because I remember as a kid, there was a tall, dark man, and he was chasing me, and I'd run, and I'd always fall. And it kind of reminded me of the two astral experiences I had. I didn't do it intentionally, because I refused to intentionally leave my body, because I know there's something waiting to get in. And people say, no, there's a silver chain connected to you and nothing can get in. But it's been proven, like, things can get in. So I don't intentionally do it, but I've accidentally done it a couple times. And the last time, it totally reminded me of these dreams, like, where you're trying to physically run, but you can't use your physical body. It's, like, more spiritual. So if you can do it, like, spiritually, it works out. But, like, when I have that experience, I'm trying to crawl and I'm falling this way and that because I'm trying to manipulate my physical body, which is not there. I realized that once I turned around and saw my body laying on the couch, and then I crawled back to my body and got in because I thought for sure that I had had a heart attack and died or something. But yeah, I think astrally, like, now that I know that, and it's more of like in your head or like spiritually, I don't know. It's not physical, it's spiritual. You need to know how to do that. But I eventually became a master of my dreams. Like, eventually I quit falling and I could run. And like you're saying, you were flying. Well, I could run and jump certain distances, and then eventually I could fly for a long, long time. And then I even got to the point where, like, when I was underwater, I could breathe and different things like that. But like you said, it's not really a dream. Like, it feels so real. So I think I have astraled, not intentionally, but, like, I don't know, maybe naturally or accidentally. It's pretty intriguing in the spirit realm. Really, it is.
Yeah, that's one thing about dreams that I've learned is some of them are more closely related to the brain and brain activity. Some of them are astral experiences, especially I think later in the sleep cycle at night or in the morning, when the brain has truly shut off. Then I think it's easier for our energy body to go to other worlds or leave our body too. Some people do it much more quickly and naturally than others. This is something I've been trying to learn, especially lucid dreaming, but it is challenging how admit that. Yeah, there's this thing about the energy body in dreaming that it is the energy body, and you are in a type of world by yourself, I guess.
So is the energy body like the spiritual body? Energy body, spiritual body, is that the same or no?
Yes.
Okay.
The best way I could answer that is yes, the energy body in your dream time that you feel very physically, and the energy body that is the double of your biological body, yes, they're the same.
Okay.
But it's just after your brain is asleep, actually I've experienced something kind of similar in deep hypnosis, and going to my subconscious inner world. Sometimes I feel like I'm actually moving around in a body of sorts in my inner world, but interacting with things, but I'm still in control and still aware that I'm in hypnosis. But sleep is just, I believe, a deeper state of that, where
I think it's around between...
You literally feel like you still have a physical body and you're dreaming sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, well, I felt like I had a physical body, but I couldn't move the same.
Yeah, that's why we can have these experiences of flying, teleportation, telekinesis, even creating things and changing things in our dreams, but also very physical experiences in our energy body and dream time, because it's the same thing, basically.
Yeah, and what you were saying, the fear of falling, I've fallen so many times, I can't even count, like, it's a natural part of me, but when I was a kid, I had this recurring dream where I think it was like a past life experience or something, but I think I'm in New York, and I'm up here, and I'm building this skyscraper, and here comes this crane, and it's bringing in a beam, and it was lunchtime, I just finished my lunch, I jumped on this beam, and I'm riding it, and all of a sudden this wind gust, and when it happened, like, it went this way and that, and whatever, and I fell off the beam that was supposed to go to a certain part of the building, and the thing that I saw below me was little tiny cars and even tinier people, and I just fell and fell and fell, and each time I had this dream, I got closer and closer and closer to the sidewalk, and each time I saw the crack of the sidewalk, and it got closer and closer and closer, till it was like that far from my face. So I've never really fallen from a far distance, even though, like, when I was a kid, I was like a monkey, I'd climb trees, I'd do so many other things, but that dream instilled in me the fear of heights and falling, and still to this day, I'm like, oh, I don't know about that, and I'll be very, very cautious around heights, but I don't know, I think that was a past life experience, and then somebody else told me, perhaps not, perhaps it's because my mom was killed by a drunk driver, and my dad was having a really difficult time, like, trying to raise us kids, and everything, and maybe it was because I was in a state of, purgatory or whatnot, like, in between different states, and I'm not quite sufficient or happy in my life. I felt like everything was very disintegrated, but I don't know, I swear to God, that was a past life experience. I'm pretty sure I did fall to my death, but yeah, it happened every single night for at least, like, I think a year or two. It happened until, like, I got that close to the sidewalk crack, and then I didn't have that dream anymore. And I've heard, like, when you have these certain dreams, if you actually hit the ground, you could die, but I never actually did.
Yeah, I believe that it very well could be a past life remembrance, perhaps. Whatever the case is, it's definitely your experience. It's really symbolic knowledge or not, but it's your experience, and so that's, I believe, up to you to decipher. Maybe there can be some help with that. I've helped people figure out what recurring dreams mean in hypnotherapy, and sometimes the answer is not what you expect. But then I found that when we do go into the subconscious and get those answers, then the recurring dreams tend to stop, or if there's something we need to be paying attention to or acknowledging, then they get that and the dreams stop, and then they can move forward in their life.
Yeah, that's the only recurring one I've had. But yeah, it did finally stop. And that doesn't mean like things got better and life was more stable. No, I was still home alone. Excuse me, I have some indigestion. My dad was working. I had to take care of my little brother. And it used to be, we were a family of 5 kids. My 3 older siblings went with their parents. It was just me and my little brother. But nothing really changed. So I don't think it was like, oh, everything's in turmoil and everything's unbalanced and that's why you're having these dreams. I really do believe that was a past life experience. So do you do that when you do hypnosis and stuff? Do you do past life regressions? And have you actually done that on yourself?
Yes, I do past life regressions. I've done quite a few, and I do that on myself too. I've learned how. I would not recommend trying to regress yourself to your past life completely on your own without any experience or training. It's best to work with a past life regressionist because they can then guide you to a safe space or help you if you're...
Or they snap and take you out of it? Like, how do you take yourself out of that? Like, that to me is confusing.
Yeah. Well, with self-hypnosis, you're not as... You can go deep, but you're more in control of yourself, which is absolutely important, I believe, for self-hypnosis. And so then you're able to just come out of it yourself if you need to. Normally I don't, or sometimes I do, but then when you're already in hypnosis, the thing is you can go back into it pretty quickly. Especially if you don't take like a break and get up and walk around, but you can, you can open your eyes and go back into hypnosis. And
so I'm wondering, like, when you do self-hypnosis, do you like set a timer where the timer will wake you up?
Some people do that. I don't. I'm a fairly sensitive person. I don't like being startled or jarred awake or disturbed by a timer if I'm in deep hypnosis. Normally I do self-hypnosis when I know that some people are on very tight schedules these days, but normally I do that at home when I have a long period of time to set aside that I don't need to get anything done after the self-hypnosis. And so normally self-hypnosis I'd recommend being in at least 20 minutes if you learn the technique or a self-hypnosis technique. Longer would be better, I would recommend, especially if you're getting to know yourself and working on things in yourself. But yeah, at least 20 minutes. Sometimes I go for like 30 or 40 sometimes, maybe even more when it's needed, and I just need more time in there. I need to also rest. Sometimes with self-hypnosis, if you're not well rested, like getting enough sleep every night, or if your body's just too tired and it's not well rested, then it falls asleep. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I found that for good hypnosis and hypnotherapy work, it's ideal and really critical, I think, to be sure to get enough sleep every night.
That's hard.
If you're going to have a session the next day, you want to make sure that you have enough sleep. Coffee and yerba mate and stimulants are not replacement for sleep. You need actual deep sleep. I'd recommend 8 hours That's actually the human biological minimum, really. And
I know,
so, yeah,
and I
you
just
need
can't
that
do
to
it.
do good self-hypnosis, and that way your brain doesn't fall asleep, but you can develop your own inner awareness.
So
And
have you
I found that helps.
have you actually witnessed your own past lives doing this to yourself, or has other people helped you to get to the point where you have witnessed your own past lives?
I've witnessed and remembered my own past lives. Initially, a person does need to work with past life regressionists typically to get their Akashic records open and gain access to them. And one thing about past life or even present life memory regressions is you can choose to leave the door to your memories open, and I found that to be helpful, so that then you can just let memories come in, and they will at times, and you can remember it on your own instead of purely having to be regressed by somebody every time. But some people will need that, and I would recommend doing that anyway to start. But yeah, some of the past life memories just come up naturally, and for me they have over the years. Sometimes
You like different sexes, or like your daughter, your mother, your father, your son, or whatever? Like, do you remember those? Like, have you ever been something different than a man? Where you're like, I know I wasn't a male.
Yeah,
I was a female.
I've been both men and women. I've been hybridized humans. I've been.
What is that?
Most
is that like the alien connection?
Shaman types. Yeah, and that can be different for every single lifetime. I think a lot of my lifetimes have probably been hybridized either genetically or also just spiritually, and soul and energy can be hybridized with your alien soul and energy. One lifetime that a psychic friend of mine helped me get in touch with was in Atlantis a long time ago. And Atlantis was not just one epoch. It was a land that had multiple epochs. But in one lifetime I had in Atlantis, I was Pleiadian and Syrian hybrid. And so the way that happens is sometimes there are star races that interbreed with each other in the same way that
That's
there
interesting.
are ethnic races on Earth
Yes.
that interbreed with each other. And so when there are like multiple, two or more ethnicities like in a certain geographical area, then it's quite often that there will be some mixed children and interbreeding between them. And the same happened in Atlantis and probably other lands too a long time ago, with people like Syrians and Pleiadians, maybe also other human types from other stars living together, and I think it was probably very awakened populations together. And so yeah, that happens. I've been all kinds of types in past lives, warriors, both my walkout and my walk-in. I've been warriors, healers, mystics, shamans, soldiers.
Christopher Walken. Do you feel like right now, as you are in this stasis, do you feel like you're kind of a hybrid, or what? Like, what do you feel? Because I'm not sure. Like, I didn't have any UFO or alien experiences until 2012. That's when I was pregnant with my son, who was born with 6 fingers on his right hand, so he's got an extra one right here, which the doctors were like, you need to get rid of that, because people are going to bully him. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, no matter what, kids are going to bully kids, and they do it all the time. And that's part of him. Like, once he becomes an adult and he wants to do it, he can do it. But But I could just see, like, if I remove that from his hand, it's surgery after surgery after surgery, and that's going to be detrimental to his mind because he has to go under euthanasia, etc., and it's not going to be good. That's his thumb. That's his decision. And it actually works. Like, he could be the best pitcher in the world in the future, or maybe the best basketball player, or whatever. I don't fucking know. Not my choice. To me, he is perfect. But I kind of feel like aliens were involved. And then, I'm pretty sure I told you this story, but I'll repeat it. I was working security, and I'd call my kids, and I'd say, good night, I love you, blah, blah, and I hope you have good dreams, and I'd talk to them about the dreams they had the night before, and both of them told me, Lily's like, Mom, I had this dream, and it's like right back here between these two pine trees, which are like over 100 years old. These aliens came and they took us onto their ship. And we walked up and the ship started to raise up and then Floyd jumped off. So I jumped off and I guess there was an alien left behind, kind of like a guard or something. And she's like, I remember I jumped on this alien's head and then I ran. And then Floyd said, you tripped. And she's like, I didn't trip, you tripped. So it's like they had the same experience. Could have been a shared dream, but it was a shared experience, I believe. I think they were about to be abducted, maybe perhaps by these aliens that, like I said, the first time I ever saw them was when I was pregnant with him, and they started showing up, and I'm wondering, did something happen to me? And then I'm pregnant with him, and then now they're coming back to take them for testing or whatnot, but after that, as far as the kids say, like, nothing's really happened after that abduction. But that to me was pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there is ongoing contact, and it's likely maybe your son did it with genetic alterations from maybe what happened while he was developing. Never know. I've been really a contactee in all my lifetimes, as I've remembered, and yeah, I would consider myself a hybrid in this lifetime, maybe with some genetic alterations, I'm not sure, but definitely a hybrid of a human level, as I was grown in or conceived in a petri dish originally, and so that is kind of, in that way, lab conceived, hybridized, artificially, genetically, this body was. But yeah, I also consider myself a spiritual and, or whatever you call it, energetic hybrid.
Yeah, and that comes from everywhere, like the universe, everywhere. It's amazing. It's immense. And I think there's a lot of us that are like you and me, where we know we're here for a reason. We're here to raise each other up. We're here to help each other to get through to the other side, because stuff is about to get pretty hairy, especially with China and Russia and North Korea and all this shit happening. Everything is just pointing down, down, down. Like, something bad is about to happen. This is going to be the end of the world, but I think you, I, and other people will survive. Like I said, I'm not really religious, but I do believe in my patriarchal blessing that I got when I did go back to church. And they said that I would be a teacher among women. I don't think just women, I think men too, like among people. But you know how people are. They're like, you can't really teach men because you're a woman and you don't really have a penis. But seriously, like, I will be a teacher among these people, and I will help to guide them through. And I don't know, I do believe this is going to happen in my lifetime. A lot of people don't think so, but I believe, like, something's going to happen. World War III, even, was it Plato, or I can't remember his name, he predicted it. The bear, the dragon, and the eagle. That's America, Russia, and China. There's going to be World War III. And I think North Korea is going to be a part of that too. Whoever else can get their dirty little fingers in there. And it's going to be scary. But I think there's a percentage of us that will survive. We will thrive. We will live again, just like we did in the past. Like, I know we've been killed off before. Maybe it was the same circumstance. I know Atlantis really existed. I know there's certain things that really did happen. I don't know. I think we're still going to be here. And I really hate to cut this off, but we do have to go to our first music break. We're kind of late on that. So we have Griff from Toronto, Canada with Let Freedom Ring, Chico with Last Forever and Juice, and then Prime Example, which our music person who gives us all of our music, Roy Washington, from Wisconsin, Milwaukee. He has given us all of this music. Please give him a thank you for all this, but you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Okay, yo, here's the scoop. You can still be a slave. The truth, got big houses, nice cars, that's real cute, but it doesn't mean nothing, you ain't free to choose. When I say free to choose, no alarm clock, don't gotta hit the snooze. The world is backwards, I'm so confused. They say freedom of speech, but when you speak your mind, they blow a fuse. Just being honest, common sense and common, it's kind of ironic. My freedom, I recently bought it, now I'm a target. If I do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, come on man, let freedom ring. Yeah. United States become divided states. The world is filled with all kinds of shades, and still resegregate. Parents separate from the children, that's not okay. We should be free to laugh and play. Do it now before you pass away. Fight for what's right, enough for everybody to get a piece of the pie. Brainwash, social media full of lies. Go to work, pay bills, then you die. Need a breakaway, guns, get rid of the AKs. Our ancestors paved way since the slave days, but we still hurting. Carry that burden. Stop playing victim, beat the system. Love is love, it should be shown. Can't grow unless you leave your comfort zone. This I know, I learned all this from the mentorship. Kids don't know what independent is. Take advantage what your parents did. Go against the grid, you have to. Like going to the bathroom, learn the right songs. Cause of Matthew, liberty like statue. They call now the present, cause it's a gift. It should be cherished, last name fearless, not Harris. All thanks to my parents' parents. Now, love the last name every time that I hear it, cause I know what it represents. Climb the fence, so now I got freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing. Freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing.
Last forever. The rain never lasts 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 forever. I know it's ain't shit. You're tired of the games. You're tired from all the hurt. You're tired from all the pain. Put your trust in all these lames, but that wasn't your aim. Tied they true colors down the line, them change. They words don't meet they actions. Loyalty what they lacking. Tell them to stop the slacking. Mama, you know nobody's practice. The rain never lasts forever. 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 I swear to God, I know these ruthless. What type of king will make they queen look stupid? Childish games when I'm grown. You want somebody you can call your own. Indifferent than your phone. When you asking me, act like you wrong. Your heart say stay when your patience gone. When y'all together, you still feel alone. Yeah, the rain never lasts forever. 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 Lasts forever. The rain never lasts forever. Juice. Mwah. Forget about juice. Big dreams, big money back. Ate up. I think I got juice. I think I'm the hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel, girl? I think I'm the I think I'm the hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel, girl? Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Juice. Handmade, get bucks for me. Drop the soda can, she got a crush on me. Little mama so in love with me. Even taught, look up to me. Little, but it never mattered. Got these haters pissed. I control their bladder, come across you. It's a chance to scatter. Henny on the house like a fucking ladder. See your main. Yes, I had to back her. She was being extra up and coming active. Beat it out the frame and let the glass shatter. Beat it out the frame and leave a flabbergasted. I think I got juice. I think I'm the hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel, girl? I think I'm the I think I'm the hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel, girl? Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. like the high five. Johnny Gill, my bad chicks, my type. Pull up like Huggies, they mug. Pull up like Huggies, they love me. Pull up like Huggies, cause I'm the shit. MC Hammer can't touch. Off that fifth hen like I slice a chicken. I was practicing. I'm a mathematician. Call me Michael Bibbins. I'm a new addition, not a Buddhist. Don't wear true religion. Yeah, I spit a lot. Like my tooth is missing. And she gave me. Now her roof is missing. I'm the bomb, baby. Now the proof is ticking. Be calm, baby. We in a new dimension. I think I got juice. I think I'm that hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel? I think I'm the I think I'm that hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel? Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Juice.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. This evening, we are joined by Mr. Troy Bacon. Still waiting for him to come back, but yeah, like I said, end of spring break, the kids are just willy-nilly. Still need to take showers. I just washed the towels, and they should be set and ready, pretty sure, but yeah, it's been kind of like in the other room where my nephew is and his old lady. I call that the boom box because it's like bam, 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 bam. Welcome back, Troy.
Thank you, Tessa. Good to be back.
Good to have you, for sure.
I was eating some cheese and crackers and I put the cheese away. My dog won't get it.
I know, right? Because she will find it. And then there's going to be ugly problems after that.
She wants it. She has the audacity of climbing the back of the couch while I'm eating it. After to invite her, with no response. Yes, that happens.
It's so funny. We just adopted a new dog, and my daughter, she's not my oldest, but she's my second oldest, and she just turned 19 on the 12th of March, which was my mom's birthday too. But yeah, she cried when I got this puppy. I'm like, your dad, you know, because he owns the ranch, he's about to get some farm animals and stuff, and he's like, we need a red heeler, a blue heeler. I have a certain predicament about blue heelers. That's the only dog that's ever bitten me. And it was my ex-boyfriend's dog, and I'm like, hey, can I pet your dog? And he's like, yeah, he's pretty sweet. And then all of a sudden I reach out, and he fucking bit my hand. So I don't like blue heelers because of that, but this one is a part dachshund, part chihuahua, and part red heeler. So she's not going to get really big, but she'll still have that instinct to kind of guide and corral animals. But yeah, she's super sweet. But she was sitting on the back of the couch earlier, and I was like, you look like a cat right now. She's all up there. She's so cute. I don't know if you've seen pictures of her. Yeah. She's so precious. But yeah, my daughter, she was so upset, she cried. I'm like, why? Like, I'm taking care of this. I'm taking care of business. And she's like, no more dogs. But yeah, she's our farm dog. She's our herder.
That's good, yeah. It'll be like that. They're really members of the family. We'll get into some other topics that I think are the main point of me being on tonight in order to share. And that is about a remembrance I've had about the purpose of planets and solar systems, really the function of them, too, within solar systems and within the universe and dimensions. And so I was at my daycare job, and I don't remember what it was about, but someone was mentioning the planet Mars, as I recall. And I started thinking about Mars. I think there was some child talking about the idea of traveling to Mars or something. But
did you hear about the whole thing that Elon Musk was doing, and he's like having people sign up to go to Mars, and they have these different space stations and stuff, and he's like, most likely you'll never come back, but this is an epic experience. And they're like, okay, let's go. I don't think I'd be willing to do that.
I have to say that I don't keep up with Elon for reasons of my own and good reasons. I just don't keep up with much mainstream news anymore. I focus on my own life.
That was years ago. I think that was like 4 or 5 years ago when he was doing that. So I'm wondering, are there people on Mars right now doing this? Who's to say? Like, he sent so many things up into space. I'm pretty sure there might be people up there right now. I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, Mars was colonized at least as far back as the 1950s by the Nazis. And,
the Russians.
Actually,
before
the Nazis even got there was according to Corey Good, at least I think other people were saying this, but I heard this story in Cosmic Disclosure that there's this group of breakaway Germans that really I think Israel, the Vril Society was part of them. And it's like this underground society that has survived since, at least since back when the Druids had to go underground. And also other magic workers and witches, but they went underground and basically formed their own societies that never separated their magic from technology. And so because of that, they, especially the Vril, I guess, got this technology from the Nordics, as I heard. Basically space travel technology. They were able to back engineer kind of a clunky looking craft, but
Yeah.
still gravity technology and lift it up. And so they went to Mars, and that was happening, I think, in the 1940s or 50s. It took multiple waves of Germans of the society going to Mars to actually use all the raw materials in the right ways to create a functional base. But yeah, there are populations of people, at least of German descent, and probably others on Mars now. And so,
And I know there's Russians in space, and the dark side of the moon, that's where they're at. But yeah, so you think there's Germans on Mars? Really? That's intriguing,
one
because...
idea I've heard, and I'm pretty sure it's true, at least I know that there are secret space program bases on Mars. So at least the U.S., probably Germany, probably others. Yeah, Mars is not a new barren frontier. It's always been populated, by the way, at least under the surface. And even so, I think there's still cities on the surface of Mars, but we don't see them with our telescopes and equipment because they're basically operating in the fifth dimension, and we just don't see them because of that, either because they want to be cloaked or because they're just out of phase of our wavelength of reality that we can see. That might, yeah. Mars is not a new frontier. What I want to talk about, though, kind of relates to what I was hearing about Mars and thinking about Mars when I was hearing about it. I'm kind of thinking back in my head that Mars is already populated, at least by ETs and multiple civilizations on and below the surface.
Yeah, what do you think about that facial structure that showed up? Like, I've seen different things that look like pyramids, and then there's also that facial structure. Do you think that's just a part of the landscape, or was that actually something kind of like in Egypt?
Both. Or actually, no, not even the landscape. It is part of a civilization that's probably still there. Maybe some of it's still in the face. Certainly there was an ancient civilization there, and we see the evidence of that from geometric pyramids and structures that have been identified on Mars. But what I want to get around to is I was thinking about not only Mars being colonized and populated, but Mars still functions, just like all the other planets, as an astrological planet that affects us as it moves around our solar disk. And Venus, too. Venus is populated very well.
Venus is so beautiful. That's one of my favorite planets. It's so brilliant in the sky, and it blinks like it's a white and blue and red, and it's kind of like an ambulance, but to me it's just like, I'm so attracted to it. Sirius, I think I come from that area, the Sirius population.
Well, Venus isn't on Sirius or in Sirius. Venus is our
I know,
planet.
it's totally a different place, but Sirius, I'm totally attracted to that. But I also love Venus because it's so beautiful.
I could talk about Sirius later, but what I was thinking about is all these planets, from Venus, Earth, Mars, and even Jupiter and Saturn, or at least Saturn, is populated with people, and the other planets, I believe, are living very ecologically friendly, zero impact, or minimal impact, at least based on their civilizations, and also very consciously, I think, probably loving, compassionate, heart-centered, and spiritual and in connection with their environment and each other, and that's why they lay low so well and stay at least hidden from us. But that's also why so many ET beings of higher dimensional natures live in these dimensions on our solar system planets and others, and they're urging us to take better care of our planet and
I know, and
each
it's.
other.
Do you think it's too
Because
late?
we're all connected.
Because a lot of people are saying it's too late. We've kind of surpassed. We've gone across like what we should do as far as like putting all this shit into the air, and people are still producing. Gases are still going up in the air, and people are like, it's too late. Wham. You know, all these icebergs are gonna melt. Everything has gone to shit. Is that the end of the world or no? I don't know. I think we're still okay. Besides the whole World War III thing,
No.
but yeah, otherwise, I
Our
think
world is not ending.
I think naturally we're good.
Tessa, no, our world's not ending. I don't believe there's such an end as a planet, even though it's somewhat polluted right now. It can be cleaned up and will be. And I've seen glimpses of the future that is a lot cleaner and brighter on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have, and I've also progressed people in trance states into future lifetimes that are just a lot lighter energy, and everything is nicer.
What do you think about these? Okay, you go ahead with that, and then I'll ask my question later.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is the big remembrance that I really wanted to talk about tonight, that my ET friends helped me remember as a clear memory that they've taught me on ships in my time with them, is that each planet is a resonant sphere, and if it doesn't ring like a bell, it also has its own resonance. Each planet has its own soul and spirit that is alive, and we know that about Earth and other planets. They're all alive, all living
And
spheres.
it makes your own sounds too. That's fascinating.
And because we are living, conscious, powerful, spiritual beings incarnated in these bodies, we have a responsibility as well as, I think, higher destiny to come into complete harmony. Just as, well, really, there's always been some conflict and also pollution on Earth, but we have this higher destiny and responsibility as people on this planet to live harmoniously with their planet and each other, because our pollution and our negativity in our thoughts and consciousness and the collective consciousness does create lower density bands and pockets and energies on Earth.
And I think there's a lot of confusion too, like not only with humans, but with mammals. Like, did you see that pod of dolphins that got, trapped up on the beach? And none of them survived. That was very sad. I was like, oh man, because they're like sitting there, they're living, and they're doing everything they do for like orcas and stuff like that. And these dolphins did not live. So I think it was like 4 or 5 dolphins died because somehow they got beached. I don't know if the tides are kind of different than they usually are, or they're going higher, and so the dolphins are going up more into the landscape and then getting trapped. But that was really sad.
Yeah, I do know that Earth is changing. Literally, spring is starting later in the northern hemisphere. I've noticed it's a lot colder where I am, and it normally is quite so cold. Literally, the wintry temperatures in Washington, and I think that's because our poles have shifted. Like literally, airports have had to repaint their runways on the place of magnetic north. Poles have shifted. The magnetic,
it's not a lot, but it's enough.
The nickel core of the Earth literally has reversed its spin, and so literally everything on Earth is shifting. Like, it's just not what we grew up with. And so I think this is just a natural cycle that we have to go through. Maybe other planets go through this too, at least for our ascension. But the purpose of human and species ascension on planets is so that each planet within a solar disk, solar system, comes into greater resonance as a collective planet. And I've helped other planets do this too. I can talk about that soon, and certainly in the next hour. That was what I did with Endara of Sirius A, my second home planet there.
I think that's my home. That's where I came from.
And so I helped finish the last phases that brought it to its ascension 2.8 million years ago. And that's what I'm writing about in my autobiography. But this is the purpose I've remembered of planets in a solar disk, is the other planets that are inhabited affect us, and so I'm sure that our basically collective sphere of pollution and negative thoughts and negativity and violence that we've created on Earth must have an energetic effect on the people living on the other planets in our solar system. And I wish it didn't, but I'm sure that it does.
I think we're kind of all connected. Do you think CERN has anything to do with that? The way they're playing with the God particle and doing collisions and then things are changing?
CERN is barely on my larger cosmic map. It's a very unfortunate, I think, demonic portal technology that some dark humans are
You think it's demonic? I never thought of it that way. That's scary. Holy shit.
So, Tessa, just quickly on that tangent, I've been keeping up with Gigi Young for years on YouTube, and some of what she says is somewhat very not mainstream spirituality. She's a psychic and intuitive. She teaches intuitive development classes, but she also talks about psychic issues on YouTube that are going on and that she's learned about from other teachers. Her perspective on CERN that I don't have a reason to doubt is that they are using parts of CERN to open portals so that demons and dark spirits can come through, and that's why they are now creating chambers in that CERN facility that are made to manufacture the coldest cold in the universe and the hottest hot in the universe on our planet, which is not natural, it's not safe, it's
we have it contained in this metallic tube. Really, you do? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's just too large, too expensive for them to not have some other function and purpose for it, but I'm also sure that maybe it's just a secret faction of it, or secret order of it, but they're summoning demons and dark spirits there. They have to be, or something like that. But I don't care about CERN, honestly. My larger education has been about the function of planets and our connectedness. And I think this is one reason why so many ET and ultra-terrestrial and interdimensional beings are so concerned with all of humanity and visiting all of us and communicating with so many of us, is to awaken us so that we stop this rampant tyranny of this collective war and dark consciousness on this planet, and clean up this planet so that it can become in sync with greater harmony with the other planets in our solar disk that have already ascended to higher dimensions, or at least the civilizations on it.
And it's pretty crazy because there's a lot of us like you and I who are awakened. Like, how do we stop this? How do we go like, hey, you guys need to stop this? Like, how exactly do we do that? Like, I don't know.
Well, Tessa, I think that's a neat question, but kind of a simple question too. I think the way we stop this is as a collective. it's happening. It's not just one stop. It's been happening. Ascension has obviously been happening in phases and spurts and gradually for decades on Earth. This is what the aliens and especially gray types have been urging presidents of the United States and other world leaders to change their ways and stop nuclear technology and especially nuclear weapons since the 1950s at least. Because when we started splitting atoms in the 1940s, that's when UFO activity really picked up on Earth, and that's why there were craft that were sent here basically as kind of a Trojan horses for us to examine.
When did that happen in Hollywood? Wasn't that like the 1950s or 60s where the UFO showed up and it was like, bam, 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 like a whole artillery against this UFO, and it had nothing against this UFO, like it had its shield up or whatnot. When was that? Was that like the 1950s?
Yeah, I think that was the late 40s or so.
Okay,
after
yeah.
World War II, when everyone was still very hyped talking about war and enemies.
That was epic and crazy.
But
seriously.
Yeah, contact is still picking up, and I'm glad that it is, and I'm glad that I'm a part of this program, because it needs to, and it's actually an essential part of Earth's ascension. Otherwise, with our current mass collective delusion, it's going to be a very long time before Earth becomes a harmonious planet. And
no, seriously,
so
and they've come in, like, we've sent out missiles or whatever, they come and they shut down nuclear plants, we've sent out missiles, and you see this UFO come in and it shoots it down, like, they're totally trying to protect us, and we're like, what the hell just happened? They're just trying to protect us from ourselves, because we're like kids with toys, basically, I think. But yeah, it's pretty problematic.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, we are, as a collective race, still very much juveniles, if not basically toddlers in many ways. But yeah, this is one reason why the hybrid programs are going on, and why I'm glad that they are, and why I'm proud to be a hybrid and be a part of the hybrid programs, at least with my great family in link with the Galactic Federation, so that we can have this gradual and progressive ascension that we're seeing of humans waking up, not just to our collective existence, but to our inner conscious and spiritual and energetic existence. Yeah, so that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to share about the purpose of planets. Oh, and this other thing about ribbons of energy within the universe, kind of like currents of energy.
Yeah, it's kind of wrapping around and spinning.
I think it was Susie Hansen who first talked about this. Maybe it was somebody else before her, but I know Susie Hansen disclosed this to us from what she was told from her Greys. The Greys she's in contact with, is that there are ribbons of universe that they actually use to travel throughout the universe. And I think this was actually kind of hinted at, or maybe part of what Barney and Betty Hill were told while they were on board a craft. I know they have a star map they were given that was quite accurate to our universe.
And I know a lot of people poo-pooed that, but I'm like, look at all their evidence. Look at what they're saying, and like you said, the star maps and everything. It all makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so, that star map is one thing, but then I think it was Susie Hansen who was given this other bit of information about our universe, that there are these literal, like, currents of energy, kind of like how there are currents, kind of like they're fixed and running through the ocean, where fish and other things travel and they keep things moving. there's these currents of energy moving through the universe that ETs have learned to travel, and I've heard that there's a big, like, cluster or convergence of a lot of these pathways near or within our solar system, and that's why, one of the reasons why the Earth has been so heavily visited and colonized throughout its epochs and eras by so many species. But these ribbons of energy I have as part of this remembrance, part of the web of life that I was downloaded with years ago, a very large understanding of it, very interconnected with, but this basically web of life throughout the universe connects all planets and all solar systems, certainly our suns. I think that that's why each sun needs to go through its ascension and solar flash event.
What do you think about these flares? Like my daughter the other day, she's only 8 years old, and she's like, Mom! A big part of the sun fell off and it's coming towards us. She doesn't realize that's a solar flare. And it was a really big flash, and I guess they heard about it in class. So she was pretty afraid of that. And it not only affects our technology as far as internet, Wi-Fi, all this other shit going on, but also our spiritual being. But she was pretty freaked out about that. She's like, Mom, there's a big piece of the sun falling towards us. And I'm like, wow. I've never heard it put that way, but that's pretty interesting. But that's the way she saw it, because she saw this big flash come off, and she was very scared.
Did she see that with her eyes or on the internet?
I think, okay, so I remember back when I was in junior high, and during our first, session in class, we'd watch some sort of news. So I think maybe they're doing that too, and she saw this flare coming off, and the way she described it, sorry, I have a hair on my lip. The way she described it was, a big piece of the sun just flew off towards us. And I'm like, no, it's not a big piece of the sun, but it could be a huge flare. And we all did have, like, technical difficulties and stuff like that going on. I don't know if you experienced that too. That was pretty interesting, just to hear her perspective of it. Like, this big, huge piece, and she's like, it's this big! Like, the size of New York or something. But it was a really, really, really big flare. So she was pretty scared about that.
When was that? I know that there are flares periodically.
Not last week, but the week before. Like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think
and
I
we
noticed.
Keep having them.
I wonder if that was the night that I couldn't sleep or get to sleep completely.
Right?
I don't know. Yeah, there's like some weird sleep stuff going on. My brain wouldn't shut off enough to even get through the state of hypnosis to fall asleep. Completely, even with 2 melatonin tablets and my self-hypnosis cue word, basically, or sleep word that I use.
Didn't you just feel pumped up? Like, I didn't even realize it, but I felt like I couldn't sleep, and my mind was activated, and there's all kinds of stuff happening. I kind of felt energized when I shouldn't be.
Yeah. And that wasn't even a full moon. I think that was after a full moon when that happened. I forget what day that was. It might have been around the 13th or 14th.
Yeah.
I forget.
I think that's
but
right,
I
yeah.
wonder if that was and I've had some weird dreams recently, too. I've expanded my dream memory ability, and so I often have these remembrances of kind of long, vivid story dreams, as I describe them. But even when I write them down, it seems like a lot of them don't even make sense or have a meaning. It's just like stuff happening, which I'm trying to figure out, because usually what I've been taught about dreams over the years is that they usually have some sort of meaning. They're personal or archetypal or something else. Sometimes we go places, but it's nice to have this dream memory ability again. But yeah, it's just not. Some of it's just really weird. Although some of it also becomes and that's interesting when that happens.
Yeah, and I can totally agree with that. Like, my dreams have been so freaking weird and so vivid, and I don't know, I wake up and I tell my husband about it, I'm like, I'm so pissed off at this guy. He's fucked me over once more, or there's these strange things happening, and I can't make sense of it, but yes, I wake up and I'm pretty peeved. I'm like, why? Why do people have to fuck with me? But I don't think it's really people, I think it's just like the energy of the universe, or something going on, I don't know.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. I was getting into the solar flashes. Sorry, I didn't change rooms because my wife.
Oh, no worries.
Transition.
Yeah. It's all good.
That happened. So I was talking about the sun and why. This is part of the larger cosmic puzzle that I've figured out through my remembrances of what I've been taught through by ETs and my great family. And so I think that our sun, I think they've been telling me about this for years. I know they've been on this planet for a very long time. And even back in 2018, after I had a lot of traumatic contact events with them that I remembered a lot of, I remember they brought me to their glowing white pyramid base under Mount Adams, and they were showing me a hologram of the Earth, and I don't remember exactly what they said, but I just got the feeling from that memory that they were telling me a lot about the Earth, and that they were monitoring it and concerned about it. And I'm sure they still are. I've known that they're Earth healers, timeline healers. So, yeah, I'm glad I've had this recall. And so I think the sun is going through this period that I've heard it might be pushed out until 2025 or 2026, as I've heard people whisper from the secret space programs, as they've estimated. But who knows, the solar flash could still happen any time. It's important to think.
I know, and I'm wondering, did that happen a couple weeks ago, or is that just a preliminary?
I think that was just like a little burp.
Yeah, but it's about to come.
Yeah, like a little hiccup. But the solar flash, as I've heard it talked about by my friend Nikki Jacobs, you know her.
Yeah, I love her. I miss her.
Very good.
For some reason, she doesn't talk to me anymore. Maybe she's afraid of me. I don't know. But did you hear about Travis Mustis last night? So he's in Alberta, Canada, and he partakes in the solar flares, aka like, you know, where you see the lights in the sky. And one of them was shaped like a dragon, and so he really got something spiritual out of that. But yeah, it's really flaring up, like, immensely.
Yeah, so I think the greater purpose of the solar flash that I think every single sun or star in our universe has to go through with developing planets is to wake us up. I've heard that the flash itself, the light, the function of that is to activate every human's pineal glands to a much greater degree, so that then we start telepathically communicating with ourselves and our reality. And then there's no more secrets, no more deception, or at least it will lead to that, and our world will become more harmonious after that. And that's why, I think all of this is why my great family came back here in August of 2018, or in 2018
that's
anyway.
like right before COVID broke out, so that's interesting that they showed up then, and right after that, COVID broke out.
No, that was 2018 that they came here.
I know, 2018 they came, then 2019 is when COVID came.
Yeah, like at the very end of 2019 is when the virus started breaking out in China, but then it got to the US in early 2020. And so I don't think that the COVID virus is anything they care about, and that's not why they came here. But what they were educating me about, I think, or at least trying to prepare my walkout for, that of course I wouldn't remember until the walk-in or later, was just the walk-in. And they were telling me from a hypnosis session in early 2019, like January 2019, they were, what is it? Yeah, they were telling me something about something to prepare for, but they told me this in 2018 when I was with them. And
I think it's the whole cleansing of the earth again, like the whole ring of fire is activated, COVID's happening, like there's so many different things, like kind of, putting their thumbs in the pie, like there's a lot of stuff going on.
Well, maybe. But yeah, I think what they're really, for a while, for a long time in 2018 and 2019, I believed that what my ET family were preparing me for is the solar flash and what could lead to the basically apocalypse or end of the world scenarios. But what I've remembered or figured out that they were actually telling me about is my walkout before the walk-in in 2021 was preparing me consciously for the walk-in. And what they were telling me to prepare for, what I didn't realize was an energy preparation to do some healing and preparation of my energy for the walk-in and what I would need as a walk-in come into this body as it was riddled with so much darkness and confusion and even dark histories and patterns and things like that. And so walk-ins, now I don't think I had this walk-in by accident. It was definitely all pre-orchestrated before birth. And so that suggests to me that I'll live through this. I'm not afraid of that. And I'll live through these times. I know that I'll have a bright future. I've seen glimpses of it. And I know that the future is bright. And so walk-ins are happening because we're raising the consciousness of humanity within ourselves and within our communities and people we are in touch with.
So could walk-ins be considered like a sort of form of possession?
Absolutely not, no. They're quite the opposite because I'm not possessed. I haven't been possessed for the past 2.5 years almost. Walk-ins are for integration and sovereignty.
So it's just like giving you knowledge or something?
A lot of walk-ins are a complete exchange of the natal soul and the walk-in soul, but mine was more like an exchange or a partial exchange, like a fractal exchange, I think.
Okay.
Of our soul fragments. Part of what I was before went to a gray body, and then part of what they were came into me as the walk-in, and that's gray and Syrian. And so we have this connection. I'm still connected with him, and it's quite interesting. We're kind of like a tag team underneath the silver soul. I describe it, understand it. But yeah, walk-ins are a really good force that's happening to the planet. I think they happen to every awakening, developing planet. It's basically a transitional society.
And people that are open to that, like, not everybody, but people that are open and aware, they get the walk-ins?
No, not at all.
Okay,
well,
I'm wrong again.
I think I understand the question, but kind of the opposite. You can't expect a walk-in. You can't be open to it and just have it come in.
No, like, it's not like you expect it, but I think certain people are open, so it happens to certain people.
It doesn't happen to people who are open to it, no.
Wow, that's weird.
No, usually walk-ins, some of them come through near-death experiences, where people literally die and reawaken. My mine wasn't so dramatic. Mine was more like a high stress and kind of like shock period of my life. But yeah, walk-ins come in usually during dark nights of the soul or difficult periods, and then they awaken the individual, and the individual awakens to their existence as a walk-in, and then they further integrate as they heal. And so I'm fully integrated. I've learned there's still more healing to do. It seems like there always is. But yeah, walk-ins are a really good force. Usually they happen. They always happen by soul contracts, never against the person's will. And
no, okay, so soul contracts, that's before you're even born. You're like, okay, I will partake of this. So it's even before you're born.
Yeah.
Like your soul,
usually,
does this contract, and it's like, okay, I'll do this.
Yeah, usually this happens before the person is born, and souls agree to this.
Okay.
I've remembered I agreed to this walk-in before this body was born.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite an interesting experience. I could talk about that.
Do you ever remember it, or no? Because we're about to go to our next music break, but do you remember that soul contract, or were you completely surprised?
I remember making that contract as the soul that I'm now, but in a body.
That's amazing.
And so, yeah, kind of a trip of the mind to explain that. But
right? Can we get some more mushrooms over here? I need some mushrooms. I'm out. I'm completely out, and I need some. To me, that's mind-blowing. Like, no, I signed up for this before I even came here, and I'm like, yes, I will do this. And then all of a sudden, there it is. So yeah, you're experiencing that. That's pretty intriguing.
So, bottom line, walk-ins are a consciousness awakening for the planet and ourselves. And we're a good thing. I'm going to say something about that. Those have to happen by contract, and some contracts are agreed on after birth, and walk-ins happen after the body's grown into adulthood, and sometimes the afterbirth contract occurs between the higher self and the walk-in soul, because the natal soul living in the body, it just can't finish or can't bear all of the karma and stuff it has to deal with in life. So then the walk-in comes in to awaken it, to heal it, and take it to a higher, greater state of living and existence.
Right. Well, on that note, we do have to go to our second music break. This is Griff from Toronto, Canada, with Best Life and Zoo. Then we have Roy Washington from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with Subliminal. Then we have Chico, which is from Boston. From Boston. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Where you from? Who you with? Are you a blend? Are you equipped? I do my thing, stay legit. In this world, no one's innocent. VIP, get bottles. One snap of my fingertips. See these haters like blah blah blah, blah 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 blah, talking gibberish. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Rolling and rolling and rolling, yeah.
if my head ain't right, I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? I'm going to live my best life. In case my head ain't right, I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life?
I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right.
See you, Roy Washington, man. What's happening, man?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. They never say it in words, but in deeds wars declared. Justice is gone and the sight's none is spared. Especially the kingdom encased in melanin. But these suckers are weak, kings and queens will ride again. Come on. Slackers with badges, the white sheets and the maggots. Watch them fall as I tag them because I'm better than average. A sharpshooter with words with my eye to the scope. Can they escape when I don the black cape? Is hell no. I'm a ninja for right, who can vanish from sight. Pick you off in the night, but still the Lord is my light. Perceiving all you see, the truth behind the scenes. Instead of jumping bandwagons, the light says believe in me. Cause you're a puppet, no doubt. 45th turned you out. Though I saw your lips moving, no sound came out. So I was sent from the heavenlies, born so you could find me. Swam the seeming stream, took flight during the 90s. Landed in grace, wrote a verse of hip-hop. Got with Jay and found the taste was smooth as butterscotch. We had hood love and money. Problems, they be on me, but we stayed in the flow. It had juice like Manolo.
They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. Cause after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel it, my vibes. King down inside and it's so man, no. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me. Politics and violent shit, I'm here to raise the consciousness. For every face and race up in this nation trapped in poverty. Diamond in the rough, need to cut, shape it and polish it. Bad thoughts cripple life, we can be an optimist. We can be an optimist, reconstruct apocalypse. Broke people always hating, mix me with that gossiping. Rose up in the concrete, rain and sun, I'm blossoming. My people need to be like kind of Velcro, then we conquer it. They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. I'm just after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel it, my vibes. King down inside and it's so man, no. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me coming.
The 45th is a joke, and he's weak in disgust. He plans to divide, but there's no stopping us. If we have to fight, go toe to toe for our lives, we prevail and got sight, cause only light I recite. I blow my lyrics like a shotgun, camouflaged inside the tracks. Now watch the suckers run. I'm moving fast enough, hands up, now here I come. I designed 50 ways to make this murder fun. I spit the lyrical rain that coat the concrete, that give life and take form. Arise and walk the street. Am I the greatest to spit? Feel the spray and we'll see. Let it dry, all the lies and the truth will point to me. Even when surrounded by a million MCs, I'm the one under the sun who's the greatest of these. I got the Holy Ghost juking and tapping while I'm rapping. Sticking and moving like Roy Jones, I'll make it happen. Even animals move when the novelist is rocking. My doggy started barking, his ears just a flopping. Subliminally, I penetrate camps like an enemy. Flicking the lights, cancel sight, cause you're not seeing me.
They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. I'm just after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel it, my vibes. Live a king down inside. And it's so man, no. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me coming. so you know this player's stunned. Hit the club, got chose like it's none. Mathematician when it come to getting numbers. I'm screaming, one, I feel like money, why? Cause they be on me, 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 why? They be on me, 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 why? I'm like, look up in the sky, that's a bird, no, that's a plane. Chico just that fly, so make it splurge and make it rain. I keep that Scrabble mind, I got words and I got game. And she like circle goggles, she got curves and she got frame. And if mama a rider, I'ma swerve all in her lane. She give me gobble gobble, she superb with that good brain. Now baby, bout that action, make them birds drive me insane. I'm a jigger, low in action, mama purchase this good thing. And fire your employees, you dealing with a boss. And kick it with a player, I got juice and I got sauce. You messing with them losers, I feel sorry for your loss. I'm a heartthrob, baby, I can feel your beating pulse. GQ, so you know this player's stunned. Hit the club, got chose like it's none. Mathematician when it come to getting numbers. I'm screaming, one, I feel like money, why? Cause they be on me, 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 why? They be on me, 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 why? Juice daddy, baby, looky here, Milwaukee bought them bucks, fear the deer, fear the deer. I'm feeling like a player, must be pure, must be pure. So let me drop this knowledge in your ear, in your ear. I'm driving your chick crazy, let me steal, let me steal. She crying like a baby, I see tears, I see tears. She thick from the front, I see rear, I see rear. I see me in them panties, I see mirror, I see mirror. Fly guy, baby, you messing with a pilot, king of the ship. You messing with a pirate. Ding dong ditch, make her open, then I'm out it. I'm getting all in that belly, turned her into a Audi. GQ, so you know this player's stunned. Hit the club, got chose like it's none. Mathematician when it come to getting numbers. I'm screaming, one, I feel like money, why? Cause they be on me, 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 why? They be on me, 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 why?
All I wanna do
She was a Loompa Loompa, now her body super duper. Getting a lot of attention she was never used to. Hitting me up like I was Uber. Got a few miles, so I guess she's a cougar. Real winner, never seen her with a loser. Gorilla talk, ooga booga booga. Scuba, tuba, diver, I'm a rider. Getting cider, sweet like cider. Fighter, rider, neither wants to get it going. Know it, hold it, fold it, blow it. Wait, I'm joking. Cages broken from these beasts. From down east on the streets, it's a zoo.
All I want to do right now is leave it soon.
All I wanna do.
All I want to do right now is leave it soon. Oh, God.
There's a
Late Night in the Rockies. This evening, we're joined by Mr. Troy Bacon. That was an awesome music break. I really enjoyed that. I was about to dance my socks off, but you know how it goes. Yeah, hopefully Troy will be back here shortly. Troy Bacon. Hello, are you there?
Yes, hello, Tessa.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, good. I just need to plug my phone into the charge.
I know mine
makes up a lot of its battery.
Yeah, mine was weird earlier. It's like I had it plugged in. It's like low battery, and I'm like, what is happening? So I had to replug everything in. Sometimes things go kind of cattywampus or wonky, but yeah, awesome to have you back. So,
coincidentally, I have a green jade praying mantis that I carved my walkout named Cattywampus.
Oh yeah?
I didn't choose that name. It actually just started repeating in my mind, I think from my subconscious, while I was carving that mantis. I was at a stone carving convention in the middle of the state of Oregon in the woods, and I was carving that mantis, and it's quite a process to carve jade. It's a hard stone.
Yeah.
So, as I was carving that, and I was still very new to stone carving. I haven't really kept up with stone carving in that way for years because this body's so sensitive to vibrations and temperatures and cold and being cold and wet that it's hard to do that anymore. Anyway, I kept hearing Cattywampus.
And then I just said it. That's funny. Yeah, and it's not like soapstone, like you said. Jade is a lot harder stone.
Yeah, I didn't even know what Cattywampus meant at the time. And so then I considered that might be its name that it was telling me. And so then I had to go home. It was only after I got back home to Seattle that I was able to look up Cattywampus and its definition. And I learned that it does mean kind of diagonal or crooked or not quite straight or off center, and some of its lines and figures are just slightly off, not quite perfectly symmetrical. Yeah, I carved that mantis and actually a smaller quartz mantis too, in kind of in honor of the mantis beings that I walked up already remembered a lot of close encounters with.
Yeah, to me it means like kind of willy-nilly or whatever, like it's kind of all over the place. But yes, I love praying mantis, and one of my first experiences with them was in combat training, and it was Black Flag weather, so we had to station wherever the fuck we were, and so I'm sitting there with my canteen and sitting under the shade of a tree and trying to keep cool because they're like, danger, danger, Will Robinson. Like, there's something bad about to happen. And all of a sudden, this praying mantis climbs up on me, and I'm like, oh, hello, little buddy. And then I'm like going like this, and he's going from hand to hand to hand, and then all of a sudden he boings off and he goes somewhere eventually. But yeah, he was my best friend, and like after that point, I don't know, like I could see there are mantis people, and they are pretty scary. You know, if I actually saw a huge mantis being, I would be freaking scared. But this guy, he was my best friend, and I just treated him with respect, and I'm just like playing with him for a bit till he boinged off and went wherever in the universe that he went. But he was so cute. I loved him. That was my little buddy.
Yeah. Praying mantis beings are like one of the higher, I think one of the more evolved higher beings of the universe. I've heard they're even older than the presence of humans within our...
Yeah, that's what I was hearing too.
And so yeah, they're like really ancient. I think I've heard that they even have had a hand historically, not that they actually have hands like we do, but they had a part in engineering humanity as we are today. And I would believe that. I know that the small praying mantis insects on our planet are actually gifts or creations that they gifted to this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And those little praying mantises are very easy for them to control and even, I think, possess short term, or I think possess isn't the right word, but like inhabit short term. So that, what is it? So then they can send those little mantises as messengers to people, and they've done that at least once to me.
Yeah, it was so crazy because this is just a little bug or whatever, but to me it was bigger. To me it was huge, and I actually felt connected to it. I don't know, it really impressed upon me like something bigger in the universe. It made me feel better. It gave me peace.
Yeah, I understand that. The energy that mantis beings put off is an energy of definitely a love and affection for us, despite their physical kind of scariness and creepiness.
Yeah, my favorite part was when he was going like this. I'm like, what are you doing? You checking me out?
One other thing, I think it was Corey that also, I think somebody also heard say this, described how mantis beings are in the secrets, not the Secret Space Program, but the Galactic Federation convergences or gatherings, where they kind of, it's like a bunch of these star races mingling about against or with each other. Kind of like in Star Wars, where you see huge gatherings of like councils and just interspecies gatherings of lots of weird-looking creature people. It's a lot like that out there, and I've heard that the way that mantis beings laugh is not like we laugh through our mouths, but they actually have like an air hole apparently at the back of their head.
That's exactly what I just said. It's like it's air coming out.
They think the way we laugh is weird.
Yeah, they're like, what the hell is that?
Weird that they have to like, I think they tilt their head back, I heard, as their frontal mouth opens, and it's like four or five sections, kind of like a predator mouth, but they do that and then they laugh so that we don't see the air hole in the back of their head opening, because they think that is impolite or something. So it's weird.
It's gross.
All these different etiquettes of star peoples.
Did you see the movie Ant-Man?
I actually did not. I
actually got to see that, and it was pretty intense because it's like, okay, so they go to this certain place because the daughter of Ant-Man and Wasp Girl, I'm not sure exactly who she is, but Ant-Man and the Wasp was the wife, but the daughter, she built this thing, and she's like, yes, I've been sending out this beacon to this universe, and the grandmother who had been there before, she's like, turn it off right now. But I think she's like slammed on it or whatever, she broke it, and they all got sucked into that universe, into different parts of it. And it was funny because she's like, Dad, just drink the ooze, and like otherwise it's like chitter chatter, like he couldn't really understand what they're saying, but once he drank the ooze, then he can understand the language. It's kind of like the gift of tongues and how that works. Like, I don't know if that's exactly how it works, because I can understand different languages even though I don't know them. I can just comprehend. It's so weird. But yeah, once he drank the ooze, he's like, oh wow, now I can hear what you're saying. But yeah, there's manti, there's different things going on there, and to me that was pretty intriguing how they did that and how that worked. And my husband was really disappointed when I told him, yes, I booked this movie for tonight, because I try to do it every Tuesday. I try to spoil my family. And he's like, man, I'm really not into, this whole world of these different comics and stuff. And I'm like, well, I watched this preview and this looks pretty fucking cool, so you're gonna come, you're gonna watch it. And it was like very, to me, awakening. Like, even though it's like fantasy or whatever, like, to me it was kind of like a different reality that we can experience. Like, we were talking about different languages and stuff. But yeah, once he wheezed the juice from this guy, he's like, I have no holes, and then he got shot through and he's like, I have holes. It was pretty intriguing. You should watch it if you can get it on Redbox or wherever. You should totally watch that, because I don't know, once you watch it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's like these different people, different communities, and you can't understand the language. Once you wheeze the juice, you do. But to me, I was just like, I understand what you're saying. Like, I don't know these different languages, but I can decipher. I know what they're saying, and it's pretty strange to me. It's like they say in the Bible, the gift of tongues. I think I have that. Not because I'm a prophet or really religious or anything. I'm just spiritual, but I can understand. I can decipher. Even Champ, he's not here tonight, but he can't really talk. He makes different noises and sounds, and I'm like, yeah, Champ, like, I can totally understand what he's saying, even though he's not saying words at all. Like, I can decipher what he's saying through his verbal analogies. I don't know. To me, it's pretty intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even beyond our vocal languages, whenever we speak, there's that thought, and I think people and beings who are telepathic can read our thoughts when we speak.
Maybe that's what it is.
And then there's our heart emotions too that are running while we speak. So empaths and empathic beings can often sense those real energies from us that are going outward while we're speaking, even if they don't understand our language. Language helps, especially with 3D humans who are used to speaking in languages. But yeah, there's definitely a universal energy language of everything. One thing I wanted to say about Mantis beings, and I think there's even higher beings and various, they're not like better or worse than any other beings, but they're like more evolved. I think just have a higher dimension or something. But one of the messages I got when I was having this remembrance recently of the purpose of planets in solar systems and the function of it for all the planets in a disk to become harmonized, and then I think that creates like a collective consciousness within the solar disk eventually. When all the planets are in harmony, then the solar disk and the sun is in harmony, creating a greater harmony energy. My doggy is running on me.
Can we see your doggy?
When she does that, she bolts apart. She just ran out of the room.
Oh, she's like, pounce! Goes back.
Yeah, I'll show her if she comes back. But, yeah, so the message I got was when a sun or a star is in harmony with all of its planets and peoples, then that supports harmony that gets sent out through the ribbons and connections to other suns and the rest of the universe. And so why it's so important for planets to eventually awaken as a collective. And I was told that there's, like, that's one thing, that's sort of the mechanical function of us as planets and peoples, but then I'm not sure what's really beyond them or what the higher purpose of all of this is for these hierarchies of dimensions and still these mechanisms. There must be something else that we will realize once we get there. But one answer I got was that there are higher beings that even the gray beings that I'm involved with, or highly evolved, answer to. But not just answer to, that they are working with and for these even higher dimensions of thought and energy and God and consciousness and whatever is out there. And that's why it's been so important for them for the last 70 years that they've been working on this planet more actively to create a collective awakening. And now they're doing that, that they will finish and are finishing with the hybrid program that will lead to us as humans on Earth eventually becoming more integrated with the rest of the universe around us. And so I think the mantis beings are some of these higher beings that the Greys are benefiting or working for. When you get into the higher dimensions where they live, I also think this is where it's kind of tricky for us to understand, because we can't just say that. I don't think our language of talking about one being lower or working for another being. And my dog just showed up again. How can I reverse this?
Yeah, I can see you, but maybe you can grab her and just bring her into the picture. Hello, what are you doing? What? And her name's Jasmine, right?
That's Lavender. No, Lavender.
Lavender,
Yeah,
what are you doing, pretty poo-poo? Oh, look at her. She's so precious. She's like, yeah, I run this place.
She is. She's very cute and smart.
Oh, she's so beautiful. I'm so glad you guys found her.
We are too. I've helped heal a lot of her trauma through Reiki.
And she gets that, right?
And so, yeah, now she behaves typically a lot better around most larger dogs, whereas she used to bark and charge at them. Yeah, so I don't think that our human language of one being working for like a boss or a higher being applies to the higher dimensions, but it's still like they're all working together in some ways, but still in kind of coming from different dimensions, but aware of each other, and a lot of that.
So
that's
do you,
what I wanted to explain about.
Well, I was going to ask, do you believe in ant people and that they exist? I think they do. And they've been like in and out of our perspective.
Yeah, ant people exist. Of course, they've been recorded on this planet, and I believe that there's probably still some groups of them within this planet. And what I learned from the Sasquatch Message to Humanity book 1 is that there have been these different eras of Earth where we've had reptilian people, which was like the dinosaur age, probably insect people.
But I think the ant people have been here through all that shit, and that I think they're still here today. I've even gone like, okay, so last Easter we went and it was behind not Mesa Verde, but Sleeping Ute Mountain, which supposedly, according to the Utes, this mountain will someday rise up. Like right now it's sleeping like this. So it's sleeping with its arms across its chest, and you can see it go all along, and you can see its toes pointing up. Someday it's supposed to rise up and crush the enemies, which is the white man, which I think I'm part of that clan. But no, it was crazy. There was like different places behind this, different places that are unknown, and I found different pieces of pottery that are thousands of years old, and even trash that is like today years old. But to me, like, I'm just like, I do believe ant people exist, and I haven't seen them, but you can see them on these petroglyphs and stuff.
Yeah, they had their era too, the ant people. What I've heard of them is that they're kind of like humans as they became highly technologically advanced. They made weapons. They even divided into different groups and had wars with each other. And they almost annihilated their species entirely until then they were forced to have like a peace treaty or something. And then eventually some group of them supposedly made the moon because they were highly intelligent, and they knew so much to create a moon for the planet, to then create this cycle of waves and lunation cycles, and that's why our moon is round, but also so perfectly mathematically aligned to be 400 times smaller than the moon, but 400 times away from Earth or something like that, or farther from the sun. I forget the math of that.
And it also makes me wonder, like, are these ant people, like, original people of the Earth? They've been here forever because they live underground.
Well, I would not comfortably make that claim, and there's a reason why, because Sasquatch people are here, but they're not the first people on this planet.
No, I think they're related to us in a certain extent, and some people say they're not really here. They're like, I don't know, when they disappear behind trees, they're going into another world. I don't think so. I think they're just really good at camouflage. But yeah, I just heard recently today about a person who has some genealogy that they found that is a third person that nobody really knows about. And it's like, we don't know everything. We're still learning. Like, there's so much out there that we have not yet discovered.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in touch with bird people even who aren't even extraterrestrial. I think they're considered ultra-terrestrial.
So are those like the people that you see like on Egyptian tombs and stuff, which have the bird heads and the human bodies, or are bird people different beings than that?
I think that those Egyptian gods like Thoth and such are probably a type of bird people. Maybe they were maybe even chimerized bird people, like human and bird people. The bird people I'm talking about evolved on this planet, just like supposedly humans and Sasquatches evolved, or humans evolved because of Sasquatches on this planet too. That's a lot to get into, but yeah, bird people evolved on this planet, literally from avians, who maybe even there was some sort of human type presence here, but yeah, they basically are humanoid with 2 limbs, 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, and a head.
Mm-hmm.
But they're covered in feathers of different colors, and
and their feathers are really long too, aren't they?
It depends. The people I know have like long wing type feather configurations,
very
or back of their arms, kind of like they could be wings, kind of like harpies actually.
Oh shit!
But that might actually be where the harpy mythological beings were inspired by, these bird people who theoretically visit Earth still.
Yeah, and that brings me to, like, so the Native Americans talk about thunderbirds, and then recently, on camera, somebody actually filmed a pterodactyl, which I think is what the Native Americans used to call thunderbirds, because they're so big, and their wingspan is immense, but yeah, this thing's flying along, and then it looks back, and it looks back, and you can see the whole shape of the head. It's totally a pterodactyl. And people don't believe the dinosaurs still exist, and that brings me back to, these elephants. They used to have 4 tusks, now they have 2. Supposedly, they went extinct about 1 million years ago, but about 100,000 years ago, these people are deciphering them on their temples and shit. Like, people are recreating what they see, just like in Aztec times. The Stegosaurus. I think it's the Stegosaurus. Maybe it's something else. The one with the plates on its back. It's like all these plates on there. They're depicting those too. They don't draw things they don't see. They draw things that they see, that are a part of their lives. And people are like, oh no, these things were gone a long time ago. But were they really? I think there's some survivors that still exist. Like even today, these pterodactyls are flying around. It's pretty intense.
This is an interesting idea. I actually want to explain and talk about that we are seeing happen. It's a phenomenon we're seeing happen on this planet now, and maybe it always has happened, but I think it's picking up. And I'll say that I used to follow Cryon, should I say religiously, although I've never been religious, but I used to follow Cryon a lot when I was especially a teenager and younger adult. For those of you who don't know, Cryon is a collective entity consciousness of the collective of humanity on Earth, and he is channeled by Lee Carroll. Says a lot about human DNA and human awakening and Gaia too, and the Pleiadians sometimes. Anyway, Cryon started predicting many years ago. I don't know exactly in what year he started saying this, but it's recorded, that Earth will reach a point in its evolution as human consciousness evolves that we will start to see extinct species of animals return to Earth. And how's that possible? There's only two ways that's possible. I believe is maybe already has always been happening with these pterodactyls and dinosaur beings too. Maybe
there's like these little tiny T-Rexes in Dove Creek, and this lady's like, I couldn't believe it, but I took a picture of this, and it's okay, it could be erupted, but it looks like a little tiny T-Rex, just shorter than the brush. These things still do exist. It's so insane.
Well, whatever that is, I just saw an article on Facebook. I checked these out so that I know that they're real. But it was some extinct species of, I want to say it was a reptile, I forget exactly what type. I think it was a turtle that was found, I think it was a spiky type of turtle that was found recently. And this we see this a lot, but they say it was extinct for hundreds or thousands of years, and now it's found again on this one island, but I don't have any reason to believe that a whole species could just be hiding away on an island and not be somewhere else too, or that certain species are completely isolated in... I can understand maybe the Amazon jungle, because there's so much of it that's hard to explore.
Yes.
But even then, there's a lot of species that we've been watching come back to our planet that have been extinct, some for hundreds of years that have been documented, or haven't been documented really for hundreds of years, that are not in jungles but in other areas. And so that's one phenomena that is fulfilling that Cryon has predicted, that I think probably our planet is not unique to. Maybe this happens on their planets when they're awakening, just like the walk-in process.
Every time you say Walken, I want to do a Christopher Walken impression. Can't help it. I just hear his voice in my head.
And this is one thing I want people to think about and start considering, that our multidimensional reality that quantum physicists are brave enough to explore, and multidimensionality with how particles can be in two places at once, how light can be particles and waves, and I see that, and how these wave particles can be directed or broadly dispersed, and light itself is quantum, but we still have technologies that harness it quite well. There's so much around us that's quantum constantly. As I've evolved, I keep seeing more and more of various colors, but like little blinks and little things blinking
Flashes.
in and out of my field of vision. Yeah, and then they go away. So yeah, there's so much to our multidimensional reality. I want to say that we don't even know for sure what's out there or what is possible or what's here. Not only because our oceans are so unexplored, space
I
is so
know.
unexplored.
And it was crazy because they started to explore it, then they're like, hell no, we ain't going down there no more. We're going to go to space. It's like, what the fuck did you find down there that was so fucking scary that you don't want to go there anymore? It makes you wonder.
Yeah, there's not only cultural, but probably other reasons that shamans of ancient tribes and societies.
And like I was saying, like on temples and pyramids and Aztec places, they have showed like Stegosaurus and yeah, that's what it was, Stegosaurus, not Triceratops, but Stegosaurus on their temples, and it's like they only depict things that they see in their lifetime. These things supposedly went away millions of years ago. Why would they be depicting these things on their temples or rocks or whatever? That's intriguing. And I do believe that not only do Stegosaurus still exist and T-Rex, we've had pictures of those in the area, and then the one that's flying around, oh my gosh, I can't think of the name right now, but they are all still here. And people are like, these things were gone millions of years ago or hundreds of thousands of years ago. No, they're not. They're still here. Pterodactyl, that was the last one I was thinking of. That was the one that was just recently filmed, and he's like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Like, he's flying, and then he moves his head around like this, and you can see, like, that little bulbous thing on the back of his head. He's got the beak and everything. What?
Yeah, and I've seen pictures and footage like that. I've seen photos of thunderbirds. By the way, thunderbirds, I believe, were varieties of birds that were literally 20 or...
I think it was actually the pterodactyl. The pterodactyl they're calling the thunderbird because it's so huge and so immense, and it flies over and it casts this shadow and it picks up kids, it abducts them, and they're like, that was a thunderbird. The thunderbird is actually a pterodactyl. I'm telling you, like, there are huge birds in the world, but I believe it was actually a pterodactyl.
Yeah, and I believe that too. And so this is the thing I want to propose, an idea that perhaps this phenomena, maybe it's portals, maybe it's just dimensional barriers that we don't understand yet, but I think that there's this phenomena around our planet that species are showing up again because Earth's energies are light enough and safe enough for them to be here again, whereas perhaps pterodactyls and stegosaurus may have supposedly gone extinct from this planet, but they're still being photographed and witnessed and experienced.
Yes.
Because there are portals and maybe, or just...
So maybe it's like worlds colliding?
Maybe, or because we have... This is a multidimensional reality, maybe their reality isn't even apart from ours, but maybe there's just a barrier or something that they can sneak in and out of or phase through sometimes that allows them to visit our reality either accidentally or purposefully.
But it's crazy because it happens all the time, and it's kind of on and off, and this has been happening for at least the last 100 years. People have been saying, oh, I saw a T-Rex, or oh, I saw a Stegosaurus, or oh, I saw a pterodactyl, or what is it? I want to call it a thunder chicken. Anyways, they've been seeing these things, and they're just like, yes, this exists. And it really warps your mind, because you're like, no. These things have been docile. Like, these things have been gone for so fucking long. But then all of a sudden they pop up. and people are actually getting pictures. Okay, so the T-Rex isn't like the huge, humongous fucking T-Rex you see before. Like, you're looking across the road, and you see, like, right under the brush, which is probably like 2 or 3 feet tall, this little T-Rex. What? So maybe they're still there, but they're smaller, a smaller version than they were before, but I don't know. I believe that they still do exist. I don't think they're extinct. And there's so many animals that they do say is extinct that are still existing. But go ahead.
I want to propose this idea I just came up with or thought of, that maybe there's still T-Rex and all the reptilian dinosaurs still either living on another planet or in another dimension, maybe both.
Well, it's kind of like, what was it? The Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell. One of my favorite movies. And he's like, you know, he's only got the brain the size of an almond. And T-Rex is like, what? You know, he got really pissed off about that. Because he's like, I'm more intelligent than that. And then throughout the movie, he had to prove it. But no, I don't know. Maybe it's dimensions collapsing upon each other. Maybe it's because we're in the end times that these things are happening and people are witnessing this. Even though they're not believers in the paranormal or anything like that, they're like, look what I just captured on my camera. This is insane. Like, they can't wrap their minds around it.
Yeah.
So do you think it's that, like, all of these different levels collapsing upon each other before the end of times, or is it something else?
That doesn't sound correct according to my reality or understanding of how things would work, because realities aren't collapsing upon each other.
I kind of feel like that's what it's like, sandwiching. Pat, 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 pat. And all of a sudden it's going to be like, kaboom. But no.
I just don't see that, and I don't think anybody sees that or evidence for
I
that.
do, and I'm somebody. Go ahead. Sorry.
What I understand is that there are other dimensions, literally worlds of their own, that are typically separated from our reality across barriers, but sometimes there's some bleed through. Even the black-eyed children phenomena, by the way, is from another dimension, I believe. And I figured this out after reading Carlos Castaneda's book.
Do you think they're demonic at all?
Yes, they are demons, but they're from another world. And I figured this out because in The Art of Dreaming, Carlos talks about his visitations to a world of shadow beings that are very physical, very real when he's there during his dream excursions, basically, that he learned through Don Juan. But then there's this bleed through that happens in this story that I think was real, where this girl he rescued from that shadow world literally showed up in this world, and I don't know where Don Juan put her, what he did with her, but he did something with her. I think they saved her, but she was one of these, I think, people who got captured by the Shadows world. But then when I was reading that, I had this dream of being in this apartment I'm in currently, and someone knocked at the door of the apartment, which is not accessible unless you're a resident or someone welcomed here and brought in through the front door. But someone knocked on our apartment door, and I opened it in the dream, and then before I opened the door, I passively felt the presence of absolute pure evil. And when I opened the door, I saw a little black-eyed girl, and before she said anything, I slammed the door in that dream, and then called in Jesus and angels and my divine helpers to take her away and cast protection around my space again. And so then I woke up, and then even still after I woke up, I was praying to get further protection, make sure that didn't happen. But I think that was a bleed through. Literally, I think that was a real entity coming in through.
That really happened.
Dimension. Yeah,
So,
and I think that's why there are black-eyed kids and other phenomena like that in our world, that they literally just show up, kind of pop in through other dimensions, which isn't easy, by the way, but they do
no, it's not.
sometimes. And
Yeah, they do. And I think it's because you're such a bright light and they want to feed off that. But unfortunately, we are at the end of our time. Can you tell our listeners where to find you if they have any questions?
Yes, I can be found at newbeinghypnosis.com, which is my hypnotherapy website. When people come to me, I help them transform their lives in a positive direction, and especially for the end result of finding their life purpose and reinvigorating their life to get unstuck and move in a direction that supports their life purpose. I have a YouTube channel, New Being Hypnosis, that I try to post on every Friday. This Friday didn't work out, but I'll get back into it this week with my friend Derek, and he's also a hypnotherapist and Reiki healer. I offer Reiki too for people and animals, psychic readings for lands, people and animals, and healings with that. I can be found as Troy J. Bacon on Facebook. And that's my main platforms. I'm on Facebook or Twitter and LinkedIn, but I never look at those anymore. Just not my thing.
I know it's hard, right? It's like, they're there.
I feel that they're very limiting and mainstream with what I can share, basically, and how much wording I can share. So yeah, basically Facebook, YouTube, my website, New Being Hypnosis, and New Being Hypnosis also has all my other information, if I have any out there. Patreon too, where members can